Migration Policy Institute recently found that the U.S. spends more on immigration enforcement than on FBI, DEA, Secret Service, and all other federal criminal law enforcement agencies combined. There's no right to visitation, no legal right to visitation whatsoever. Mandatory detention is one of the biggest problems. So it's the practice of imprisoning people without any consideration of whether it's, appropriate. But the real crucial point is that in 1996, Congress passed these two pieces of legislation, the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act, this illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, and these laws greatly expanded the category of who can be mandatorily detained. And by mandatorily detained, I mean there is no right to ask a judge to consider whether the person should be, or you can't challenge being detained or ask for a bond hearing, which you could pay that money and then be out of detention while you fight your case. Under criminal law, I think we all understand what felonies are, right? But under immigration law, felonies are classified entirely differently. So shoplifting is an aggravated felony. All of these petty minor drug charges are aggravated felonies. So basically, if you have if you have an aggravated felony under immigration law, which would not be a felony under criminal law, then you can be mandatorily detained and you have no right to a bond hearing to challenge your detention. So under immigration law, people if you are a legal permanent resident in this country, if you ever committed any kind of crime in your past, even if you say it was when you were a teenager, and an attorney could advise a person that, just plead guilty, do community service, it's never going to affect anything in your life, just get it over with. A lot of people got advice like that from attorneys. And then in 1996, when these laws passed, it changed that to say that anybody who ever had any kind of criminal conviction in their past was eligible to be put in detention and also could not receive any kind of bond hearing or any kind of appearance before a judge to challenge that detention. So the stories about this particular aspect of the law are just really awful, because these are, a lot of people who have been in this country for, most of their lives, and there's not a lot of awareness that this is possible. So a lot of people were just, taken by complete surprise and taken into detention and had no idea that it could be possible. This is a really, really important decision, because this is a federal district court setting precedent for the first time legally and saying that a whole class of people who are in detention, who are in this scenario that I'm talking about, where they can't challenge the fact that they're detained, and so they could be detained for months to years without any judicial review. This in the Los Angeles area is challenging that and saying that the government has to provide them with a bond hearing to determine if they, should or should not be in detention. The problem with this is that because of the way, and I don't fully understand this, I'm not a lawyer, but this only applies to the district of Los Angeles, or that court district. So it doesn't apply to other parts of the country, but it did set legal precedent that cases that are tried like this in different parts of the country would have a better chance of succeeding. What's interesting is that, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, people in detention are under their custody and in the custody of the Department of Homeland Security, but they don't own and operate any of the detention facilities where people go. And you saw the map, there's 250 detention facilities in the U.S., and almost all of them are either county jails that ICE contracts with to hold people, or they are detention centers, jails that are run by private prison corporations that specialize in holding people in jail. That's their business. But another huge problem is that people are transferred all of the time, and it's part of this like profit machine. Like ICE will say that people are transferred because of bed space. They didn't have enough, and this is a term they use to like not talk about the people who are in the beds, but they transfer people for no reason and with no warning very, very often. And the way it happens is that, you know, people are woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning, they're put in shackles, they're put on a bus, they're put on a plane, nobody tells them where they're going. We've met people in detention who have no idea what state they're in. They don't know. They're just like, where am I? Because they've been moved around so many times. And there are these corporations that specialize in jail phone stuff. So these county jails and detention centers contract with these corporations exclusively. So the only way, they have an exclusive contract. So the only way someone in detention can make a phone call is if their family members know where they are, number one, and that's already so hard to figure out. Number two, they have to know the protocol to put money on that person's account, their phone account, and so the rates are upwards of $4 to $5 per minute for these phone calls. And these corporations are making so much money. And they're not even, the whole profit scheme isn't just even that profit of that $4 or $5 a minute. It's more. And it's more because in their contract, they're charging the families of the people in detention that high cost. So with the agreement that with that profit, they're going to kick back a percentage of that profit to the county jail or to the detention center. So they're going to give them a portion of that profit that they're making from families to the jail that has the exclusive contract. Does that? There's just no accountability. I mean, if you pay a corporation to hold people in your custody, their business is detention. They're getting paid for people being there longer, and this is where we start seeing incredible human rights abuses.
I think another point that Christina touched on is the fact of how they become isolated. I've gotten phone calls from people that are like, I got picked up 2 months ago, I was on my way home from work, nobody from my family, I haven't talked to anybody, nobody knows why I got picked up, can you connect a phone call to my wife? I go, sure. I go to connect the call, he was the person, this is one particular person I'm thinking of, he was the one that was earning money and paying the bills, he hadn't talked to his wife in 2 months, we go to call her, phone's disconnected. So he doesn't know where she is, how to get in touch with her, she doesn't know where he is, she hasn't heard, all she knows is he never came home from work 2 months ago. So I mean, that happens all the time, that's not like a rare occurrence, that's not like one isolated, I mean that happens all the time.
There's something called the performance-based national detention standards, and these are ICE's own standards of what rights people should have in detention, but they're really they mean nothing because they're not legally enforceable. So they say people should have the right to medical care, people should have the right to visitation, reasonable access to phone calls. All of the things that people don't have in detention it's stated that they should have them through these national standards, but because they're not legally enforceable, they carry no weight.